Mr. Ben was born and raised in a poor rural area of Thanh Nguyen, a province known for its rich mineral deposits. Yet the people still lived in hardship. His family had 5 siblings, and his parents were farmers with unstable incomes, sometimes having enough to eat, sometimes not. From a young age, Ben was accustomed to waking up early and staying up late to help his parents, sometimes working in the fields, other times climbing the mountains to collect leftover or to sell for extra money to buy books and supplies. During those years, one question always troubled him. Why does my hometown have resources, yet the people remain poor? That question followed him throughout his childhood. Despite poverty, he was eager to learn, hoping to find a way to escape poverty. However, when he turned 18, his family could not afford to send him to university. Not wanting to become a burden, he decided to work as a laborer in a small metallurgy workshop near his home, which specialized in processing ore into crude iron. The work was tough and the wages were low, but in return, Ben learned a lot about how production facilities operated, how metal was refined, and how raw materials were managed. He realized that this industry had great potential if the processes were optimized. A bigger dream began to take shape in his mind. He did not want to be a worker forever. He wanted to build his own metallurgy workshop. That was the beginning of a challenging yet hopeful journey. In his early years as a worker, Ben didn't just work for a living. He seized every opportunity to learn. He carefully observed how ores were refined, calculated production costs, and studied the iron and steel market. What he discovered shocked him. Most of the ore extracted in Thanh Nguyen was sold as raw materials to large companies. However, if it underwent further processing, its value could double or even triple. But to change this reality, capital was needed, and with his meager salary, that dream seemed far out of reach. Undeterred, Ben worked overtime and saved every penny. He also acted as a middleman, buying and selling scrap metal from iron and steel factories. This not only helped him earn extra income, but also deepened his understanding of the market. One day, he met an old craftsman who had once owned a small iron smelting furnace, but had gone bankrupt due to a lack of capital. The man shared invaluable experiences with Ben and advised him, "If you want to succeed, think big, but start small." That advice became Ben's guiding principle. After years of saving, he borrowed additional funds from relatives and decided to open a small workshop specializing in purchasing raw ore and refining it for resale to small and medium-sized enterprises. The workshop started with minimal capital and rudimentary equipment, but Ben believed this was the crucial turning point that would take him further in the iron and steel industry. The early days of his startup were filled with hardships. Ben's workshop had only a few workers, outdated machinery, and an unstable supply of raw materials. To save costs, he did everything himself, from transporting ores and operating machines to searching for customers. He worked tirelessly, often skipping meals and sleep, struggling with both production and debt repayments. The biggest challenge was finding buyers. Large companies didn't trust a small workshop, while smaller clients demanded the lowest possible prices. At times, Ben felt he was running out of money. But instead of giving up, he changed his strategy. Instead of competing with big factories, he focused on smaller customers who needed a stable supply of high-quality iron in smaller quantities. Gradually, thanks to his diligence and reputation, his workshop started gaining its first customers. Revenue began to rise slightly, motivating him to continue. But just when things seemed to be improving, a major crisis struck. The market price of ore plummeted, putting him on the brink of bankruptcy. The drop in prices meant that Ben's inventory lost its value while his workshop still had to pay workers and operational costs. If he didn't find a solution quickly, he would lose everything. Instead of panicking, Ben investigated the cause of the price drop. He discovered that major companies had temporarily halted imports of crude iron due to oversupply. But instead of seeing this as the end, he saw an opportunity. If large companies were not importing, they would eventually need local iron and steel to meet demand. Immediately, he pivoted his approach. Instead of selling crude iron, he invested in deeper processing to produce higher quality iron. While this required additional costs, it increased product value, allowing him to sell at competitive prices. He also proactively reached out to construction companies to provide direct supplies instead of relying on traders. This decision saved Ben from collapse. His workshop not only survived but also became one of the most stable iron suppliers in the region. Production, Ben didn't stop. He continued finding ways to improve efficiency. He realized the biggest problem in his workshop was outdated technology, which led to high production costs and inconsistent quality. Instead of continuing with old machinery, he decided to reinvest. He took out loans to purchase a modern smelting furnace and collaborated with engineers to upgrade production techniques. Although it was a risky move, he believed this was the only way to build a sustainable business. Thanks to these technological advancements, the quality of his iron improved, and production costs dropped significantly. Ben gradually expanded his operations, hired more workers, and began contemplating the establishment of a full-scale steel factory. As his company grew, Ben began to feel the intense competition in the iron and steel industry. Large corporations were unwilling to share the market and continually lowered prices to squeeze smaller players like him out. Refusing to surrender, Ben found a way to differentiate himself. Instead of competing on price, he focused on producing high-quality materials that met strict construction standards. He targeted mid-sized construction projects that large companies often overlooked. This strategy secured his company's foothold, small but firm, laying the foundation for its future expansion. After solidifying his position with his small iron and steel workshop, Ben realized that if he wanted to go further, he needed a large-scale factory. This would not only increase production but also allow him to compete with industry giants. However, achieving this required massive capital investment. He began seeking investors and partners. Initially, fundraising was difficult. Many doubted his ability due to his humble beginnings. Even banks were hesitant to lend, fearing the risks in the steel industry. But Ben persisted. He presented a detailed expansion plan, demonstrated market potential, and assured attractive returns for investors. After months of negotiations, he finally secured the necessary capital. He started building his first steel factory in Tainguin. The construction took nearly a year, requiring relentless effort from Ben and his engineering team. When the factory was completed and officially operational, it marked a major milestone in his journey. But soon, new challenges emerged in running a large-scale facility. Once the factory started production, Ben realized that managing a steel plant was far more complex than building it. He had to ensure a stable supply of raw materials, maintain skilled labor, conduct regular equipment maintenance, and, most importantly, secure consistent demand for his products. In the first few months, his company faced multiple setbacks. Raw material costs surged unexpectedly due to market fluctuations, increasing production expenses. Some major clients backed out at the last minute, leaving large stockpiles unsold. Meanwhile, competitors slashed prices aggressively, creating even more pressure. Additionally, environmental regulations posed another hurdle. A government inspection revealed that the factory's emissions treatment system was inadequate, threatening production suspension. This was a major blow, but instead of panicking, Ben swiftly took action. He invested in advanced emission control technology and upgraded production systems to meet regulatory standards. Through quick decision-making and adaptability, he gradually stabilized the factory's operations, paving the way for even greater ambitions. After overcoming the operational challenges, Mr. Ben began thinking about bigger steps forward. He realized that if his company only focused on the domestic market, it would remain confined to a limited playing field. Upon researching, he discovered that the demand for steel in neighboring countries like Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and even Thailand was rapidly increasing. Without hesitation, Ben started studying export standards and participating in international trade fairs. He sought to connect with foreign businesses, sending product samples for evaluation. Initially, he faced many difficulties as each market had its own technical standards. Some deals seemed close to success but were canceled at the last minute due to unmet requirements. Undeterred, Ben continued refining his products and improving the manufacturing process to meet international standards. After multiple trials, his company finally succeeded in exporting its first batch of steel. This was a major achievement, marking a significant milestone in bringing Vietnamese steel to the global market. However, as his business expanded, Ben found himself facing even fiercer competitors, powerful multinational steel corporations. As Mr. Ben's company began making a name for itself on the international market, major steel corporations started taking notice. They didn't want an emerging Vietnamese enterprise to become a competitor, so they launched aggressive strategies to pressure him. The most common tactic they used was slashing prices to the lowest possible level, making it difficult for smaller competitors to survive. This posed a serious challenge for Ben. If he lowered his prices to match, his company would suffer heavy losses. If he refused, customers might turn away from his products. Instead of getting caught in a price war, Ben chose a different path, focusing on the high-quality product segment. He made substantial investments in advanced metallurgy technology, improving the quality of his steel to make it more durable, with fewer impurities, and suitable for high-standard construction projects. This strategy yielded surprising results. While competitors engaged in cutthroat price battles and took significant losses, Ben maintained profitability by emphasizing his product's core value. His company continued to grow and remained stable in the market. However, just as everything seemed to be going well, a major economic crisis hit, presenting yet another challenge. The global economic downturn caused many steel companies to go bankrupt. Raw material prices soared while construction demand plummeted, plunging the steel industry into turmoil. Ben's company was not spared from these difficulties. While many businesses in the same industry were forced to shut down, Ben refused to surrender. He sought ways to cut costs without compromising product quality. One of his most groundbreaking solutions was adopting metal recycling technology, utilizing scrap materials to produce high-quality steel. This approach not only reduced raw material costs but also positioned his company as a leader in sustainable development. As a result, his business not only survived but even thrived during one of the most challenging periods. After decades of relentless effort, Ben transformed his small workshop into one of Vietnam's leading steel corporations. Now, he dedicates more of his time to mentoring the next generation, ensuring the company continues to grow sustainably. His journey is a testament to resilience, determination, and the ability to rise above adversity, an inspiration to countless young entrepreneurs. Thank you for listening patiently up to this point, and I would like to congratulate you on your listening, comprehension, and vocabulary skills improving every day. Along with that, your ability to concentrate has been and will gradually take shape. All the necessary abilities to succeed, whether in study or work, are thoroughly explored in each video I post. I wish you happy studying, and see you in the next videos.